Welcome, friends. It's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is part of the Card Crafters Collaborative hosted by Robin, the Delta Crafter, on YouTube, and it's all about summer fun. When I think of summer, I think of splashing water, family get-togethers and barbecues, strolling in the park, tropical paradise, evening sunsets, early morning sunrises, beautiful vegetable gardens, rainbows, and among other things, gorgeous flowers. I am using the beautiful Floral Notes layering stencils by Pinkfresh Studios today. Since they are large, they're very versatile. You can make slimline cards, A2 cards, 5 by 7, any number of sizes. I used a Sharpie to number my stencils at the bottom. I'm using my Tim Holtz stamping platform today, and I've removed the cover. I aligned my stencil towards the bottom and applied my magnets on the sides, bringing in my Distress Oxide Picked Raspberry, inked up my top flower. Now I'm coming in with my Candied Apple Distress Oxide, and I'm blending partially over top the picked raspberry. Now I'm adding ripe persimmon. Love this orange. And doing the same, blending a little over top the candied apple. And now I will bring in my squeezed lemonade for some yellow. Since I'm blending this yellow over top the orange, which is darker, I'm going to wipe this off on a paper towel off camera so that I don't cross-contaminate when I use this brush again. And here I'm bringing in my Distress Oxide and Mowed Lawn for some beautiful green, blending that a little over top the yellow. And I'm going to come back in later and add a little more yellow. I think I covered my yellow a little bit more than I intended to, but I will fix that later. I blended in some peacock feathers and now some prize ribbon. Beautiful colors. And as you can see, I am making a rainbow of flowers. And I'm bringing in my Seedless preserves here, blending that over top my prize ribbon a little, just a little overlap so that I get that nice cool blending. And so now I'm starting over with my picked raspberry and then my ripe persimmon. Lovely. Here I'm going to bring in more of the squeezed lemonade, trying to get a little more of that yellow back. And I'm just kind of using the corner of my ink pad so as not to cross-contaminate too much there. Now let's remove this stencil, see what we have. Oh, lovely. I love this rainbow cascade of flowers. I used a Sharpie and made a line down the sticky mat on my platform at the 1-inch mark so that I would know exactly where to align each stencil. So here I placed stencil number 2 in my on my panel and added my magnets, and I'm bringing in same rainbow colors, picked raspberry, and blending, and I'm not adding more ink on my brush. This is leftover ink that's already on my brushes. I am not going in rainbow order now. I am actually just going in the order in which I think it would complement the color that's already on the panel from stencil number 1. So just blending in the insides of the flowers. After I remove each stencil, I do wipe them down with a baby wipe. And here is stencil number 3, lining that up at the 1-inch mark on the bottom of my platform, adding my magnets. And then this stencil is strictly for leaves. I'm using 2 Distress Oxide greens, Twisted Citron, and Mowed Lawn. So the Twisted Citron, I'm blending that in as my base. of my leaves, so the lighter color. And then I will come back in with Mowed Lawn and darken up a bit in some areas, trying to leave mainly the tips of the leaves a little lighter, just for some contrast. And now for the reveal. Look at that sweet rainbow of florals. I trimmed my panel down to 3¼ by 8 and matted it with the black cardstock measuring 3 3/8 by 8 1/8. I placed my panel on my table mat, and using my magnets to hold it, as my table underneath is metal. I'm using sentiments from the Simon Says Stamp Fresh Bloom Sentiments set, which has lots of different sentiments already pre-printed, for encouragement, love, birthdays, thank yous, things along that line. And I have already cut out all of my strips from that sentiment pack that I'm going to use, and I have matted them with black cardstock. And so now I am using my T-ruler and aligning those on my panel, and I am using 4 different sentiment strips here. And once I get those all affixed, I will use my acrylic block to apply pressure and hold those down. So tell me in the comments what you're looking forward to most during this beautiful summer. And I turn my panel over, and I'm using just some thin pieces of scrap cardstock to build up the top sentiment on the back, because it extends over or extends beyond the left and right sides of my panel. So I want to put 2 tiny pieces of scrap cardstock on either side to level out the panel. I've partially released the release paper on my double-sided tape, adding a little craft glue to the left and right sides of that top sentiment strip, and then affixing that to my card base. My card base measures 3 3/4 by 8 1/2. I will bring in 3 of the Sparkling Crystals by Studio Katia and use my embellishing wand and some very light adhesive and affix those to the front of my panel. For my second card, I'm using an alcohol ink blotting technique and some glossy photo paper. And I place my first stencil on top of my panel and securing it with my magnets. I placed the round felt on my ink blending tool and some Alchemy Pearl alcohol ink, and I'm just blotting this through my stencil onto my panel. I'm going over and blotting the alcohol ink 2 to 3 times, just to get good coverage. Oh, this is so pretty and pearly and bright. I placed my second stencil on top, lined that up, and am bringing in some Butterscotch alcohol ink. And I did change my felt pad, using a different felt pad for each color that I use. I immediately clean my stencil with isopropyl alcohol and a baby wipe. And then here I'm bringing in both citrus and lettuce alcohol inks, and I'm placing them on the same felt pad. And we'll go ahead and bring that over for stencil number 3, my leaves. And I just want you to see that those 2 colors look about the same, but I was hoping that I get some contrast between the colors, and I do get a little bit, which you will see at the end here. Lovely. So here's the finished card. I put it together the same way I put together card number 2. So I just wanted to show you the finished end result. And with the card number 3, I used the same alcohol ink blotting technique, but I used some Tim Holtz Yupo paper. I wanted to see how differently this would look on the glossy photo paper versus the Yupo paper. I move through this process very quickly because it is the same as the process for card number 2. But take a look at the similarities. The alcohol pearl inks look a little brighter on the glossy paper, maybe because it's glossy, not sure, but it looks a little more matted or muted on the Yupo paper. I like both. So I am going to add a little splatter to these cards. Let me know in the comments which card you like best out of all 3 of the cards. Um, but just add a little alcohol ink and a little isopropyl alcohol on my palette. Mix those together, and then I am splattering these in my splat box. Now, this third card is an A7 card, which is 5 by 7. I did trim my panel down from 5 by 7 to 4.5 by 6.5 and matted it on black cardstock. My black cardstock measured 4 5/8 by 6 5/8 so that I had a very narrow mat. I use the Simon Says Stamps pre-made sentiment strips encouraging words. I've added a link below to all of my crafty friends in this hop, so be sure to check out their videos and let them know that you came over from my video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and sharing my video. Please also give me a thumbs up. Good day, friends.